Did you find you mentioned fruit in moderation, which I completely agree with. I also know for somebody like myself, I'm 6.5 years carnivore now.
Yeah.
If I have the fruit, I start to crave more of the other sugar, or I can't. I am the one that's going to eat the whole pineapple or do something stupid like
Yeah.
that. With your individualized approach, do you find some people out there who are more like abstainers and maybe even just a little sweet is probably too much for certain people?
Yeah, I agree, but it's one of those things too, Casey, where, we're dealing with someone who our average age patient is 65 years old, so you got to be careful about not trying to get too radical with them. Otherwise, your compliance just plummets. That's why, if we can just get them to eat the way we show them and, take our supplements we provide, that's a Herculean effort for someone who's been eating the same way for 50 plus years, right? So if we've got to start at, oh, now you got to get rid of fruit too. Like, oh, come on, you're killing me, man. So it's like there's only so much, right? So we always say for fruit, make sure you eat it all before noon. Don't have anything later in the day. So eat it with before noon and always have some protein with it. So gonna have some pineapple, have some peanut butter with it, or some nuts or some kind of protein to offset the sugar, and then stop eating it at noon so you have that chance to burn it off the rest of the day. That way they still feel like they're getting something sweet that's not, a dessert or a sugar. So it's not depriving them completely. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm a big carnivore fan too. But again, that's that for a lot of people, they can't do it because
Right.
they need something, right? So give me some veggies, a little bit of fruit. But yeah, I'm a hardcore believer in the carnivore diet. But again, very difficult for compliance on a lot of people, as you know. But the
Yeah.
health benefits are phenomenal for sure.
Totally. Yeah, I like that. And I agree with you as far as the vegetarian vegan. Like, we're not the ones yelling at vegetarians and vegans saying they're wrong or stupid. It's just really tough. It's just the facts. Like you said, like finding a good
Yes.
quality vegan protein, it's not easy. It's incomplete usually. And so it is a challenge. So yeah, I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. Your practice, part of your program is also using continuous glucose monitors, which is just, in the last, 10 years is kind of like emerging as a wonderful tool. What things have you learned kind of on a macro level about using CGMs for people?
Yeah, so again, I've got a sort of a love-hate relationship with CGMs, Casey, because on the one hand, at least for the first like 4 to 6 weeks in our program, it's kind of good for them to see like what foods are causing a spike in the blood sugar. Because again, it's stuck in their arm 24/7. They can look in their phone, anytime, like 24, see what their blood sugar is doing. So I like that aspect of it, but we feel like after about 4 to 6 weeks, once someone's eating the way we teach them, I don't like it. I want them to get that thing off and now just use their glucometer. Just check your blood sugar once in the morning fasting. That's all we need. Because if they have too much access to it long term, it makes people a little bit too anxious, a little bit too anal, like, oh, my blood sugar, and they freak out like, it's okay. You just ate something. Of course it's going to go up. Just relax, right? That's why, again, if you only do it fasting in the morning, that's the consistent reading we want to see versus what is it at 2 o'clock? What is it at 4 o'clock? What is it at 7 o'clock? That's too much information. It's not necessary because you're going to have the ebbs and flows based on your exercise level, what you did, any stress, all of that, right? So that's why, again, there's a kind of a love-hate relationship with it. And of course, the ultimate goal is you reverse your diabetes. You don't need a CGM anymore, right? It's like because you're good to go. So
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I like it as a short-term tool that people can use to give information, but not something that you should use, long term. And I've seen it go both ways where it's, for some people, it seems to self-correct. Like you almost don't even need to teach somebody about what proper nutrition is. You just say, hey, if you can make your bumpiness on your CGM be less than what it was, you're going in the right direction, eat those things. And I've seen it go the other way where people like they're not learning from what they're doing and they're seeing severe surges and spikes and a CGM ends up not helping them anyway. So I think the
yeah.
temporary approach is a good way to do that. Is that kind of what you've noticed as well?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it is getting more popular because people just don't like poking their finger. I get it. It's funny too, you say that because I met with somebody last week who's already has the technology where from the cell phone, you can put it on your hand now and it can actually measure your blood sugar, right? With no poking of the needle, no CGM stuck in your arm. And as long as the blood sugar is 140 or below, it's really accurate. It gets higher than that, it
Huh.
just says high. But so the technology is getting there better, where now you don't need to have this invasive thing stuck in your arm 24/7, which a lot of people don't like. So that's really going to be cool when all that starts coming out, and you can check blood pressure and blood sugar just with your smartphone. That's going to be
Wow.
awesome. So
That's fascinating. I had no idea.
yeah, so yeah, so that's
And
going
that
to be
technology,
something. Yeah,
I'm
so we're
sorry to
working
cut
with
you off.
that company, yeah, to kind of integrate that because we're just finishing up developing our app for our patients. We want to have that new technology in there so people don't need to use the CGM. So
Wow, fascinating. And that
yeah.
technology is already existing on like newer smartphones.
It already exists right now. Yeah. So again, it's just getting rolled out, and we're going to integrate that with our app. You'll start hearing more and more about it here the next probably couple months. And because like anything, it's going to be a race to the market, right? To see who has that tech because everyone's been looking for that. And yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. So and it's just going to keep getting better and better as years go by.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. Tell us about some of the other components of your coaching program. What are some of the other things you work on? Again, I think the two of us agree that diet's probably the biggest one. And, if
Yeah.
we can get that A1C down, that's going in the right direction. What are some of the other major components of the program?
Yeah, so what we got patented, right? We have the only patented system to reverse type 2. It's also the ingredients and dosages of our nutritional supplements. So our patients get told what you can eat, what you can't eat. We provide nutritional supplements for them to take, exercise recommendations, and then we have the one-on-one coaching all the way through their program to hold them accountable, making sure they achieve the reversal. And we give weekly training videos that are sent out every week to them. They get weekly meal plans and recipes. They get a group support call once a week where they can actually jump on with other diabetics all over the country that are sharing success stories and, hey, just got off another medication, lost another 5 pounds, I'm feeling great, so that kind of stuff. So those are all the things that we provide. So it's very, very comprehensive. It's not just here's what you eat, because again, it's to get someone to really reverse it, they need that hand holding and that accountability, especially again for people that are average age 65 that they'll go off the wagon a little bit and they need to kind of get, their coach to kind of smack them around a little bit and say, hey, what's going on, Mary? Your blood sugar's going back up. Oh, yeah, I had Mexican food last night, so they'll fess up. And so we got to get them back on track. But having that live coach there holding their hand all the way through it is really, really critical.
Yeah, I like the one-on-one component, and I want to get a little bit more details on that. But can you comment on the value of the group coaching thing? Like when you're telling
Yeah,
people some of this advice, like you need to get your sugar down, you need to get your soda down,
yeah,
all that stuff. Like people live in a world where like it seems like nobody's doing that, or they're not feeling like they're
yeah,
supported. Oftentimes, that can
yes.
happen in somebody's four walls. Maybe their spouse
Yeah,
is sabotaging them to an extent. I see that all
yes.
the time. How important is that group meeting to get everybody together to keep everybody on track?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's optional for our patients, but the ones that do attend, they tend to get better results because it reinforces what they're doing. They realize they're not the only one in the country doing it, like you just said, like they're on this island. And so when they first do that and they hear people have been in the program for 2 or 3 months, and now they've already been taken off of 80% of their meds, their A1C is coming down, their sex drive's improved, their energy level's better. It gives that new person like, wow, okay, I can do this. If they can do it, I can do it. So it really helps give that group support. And again, make sure that they realize they're not in it on their own because you're right. You go around, if you're the only one doing these things, like how come they can eat that and I can't? And it just a lot of the becomes that emotional support too, because a lot of the eating is emotional and so yeah. But just one thing I'll say is, if you probably haven't guessed this, is that the majority of people that join our program, Casey, they join it because they're scared. Like they've been a diabetic for 5 years or more, and now they're starting to get some symptoms, right? Like they're getting some neuropathy in their feet, and they don't want to have an amputation, right? Their doctor said you got stage 3 kidney failure. They don't want to go on dialysis. They're already getting some blurred vision. They don't want to lose their eyesight, right? So they have this healthy fear, like, holy crap, I'm scared now. I need to stop screwing around. And then they hear about our program. Oh my gosh, yeah, I need to do this, right? The diabetic who just gets diagnosed in their mid 40s, who's taking a little bit of metformin, no other meds, they feel pretty good. They're like, there's no urgency for that person to join. Unfortunately, they have to get worse before they decide to stop screwing around, right? And so it's just human nature, and you've probably seen is trying to sell prevention is a very hard thing to do because we're all so busy and we tend to wait until it's a crisis before we say, oh, I better do something now. And it's just the way it is. So